Good. We're going to read Ministry Burnout. Yeah, I don't like using my angry tone. It's really bothersome. I do it sometimes, though. It's, again, good for chemical production. We try to use it to our advantage. Let it not be in vain, brothers and sisters. Yeah, right? Good. Yes, we're starting Ministry Burnout again. Introduction. Burnout is a word we use when a person has become exhausted with his or her profession or major life activity. Burnout has become enough of a problem to attract the attention of behavioral scientists who identify certain typical symptoms of the condition. Difficulty in sleeping, somatic complaints such as weight loss, lack of interest in food, and headaches and gastrointestinal disturbances. A chronic tiredness of the sort that is not repaired by sleep or ordinary rest and only temporarily alleviated by vaccines, low grade, persistent depression, and a nagging boredom. There may also be uncharacteristic forms of behavior frequently characterized by outbursts of anger or resentment. A normally patient social worker may have a sudden burst of affect at her clients. A businessman may display an uncharacteristic lack of tact with his superiors or customers. A public relations person may suddenly insult persons whose favor she should be cultivating. Burnout can occur in many walks of life. Doctors, teachers, housewives, anyone can burn out in his or her main life activity. However, this book is primarily addressed to persons whose profession it is to minister to other people through the church. First, I have in mind the clergy. But the book is also directed to others who have a ministry, such as directors of religious education, members of religious orders who function in parishes, or charitable institutions, spiritual directors, and many others. While the usual context I have in mind in my remarks is that of the parish, others who have different forms of ministry and non-parochial roles should also find the discussion pertinent to their situation. Since I am referring not only to ordained persons who are members of the clergy, but to lay persons with a religious ministry as well, I am going to use the term ministering person to refer to members of both groups. The term is a bit awkward, but nothing else seems to do as well. We cannot, for instance, use the word minister throughout, since in most Protestant denominations, this word refers to the ordained minister to the exclusion of the layperson. For this reason, when I occasionally use the word minister, I mean it has the equivalent of ministering person, and by the latter term I denote lay, as well as ordained people with a professional religious vocation. In many denominations today, both men and women may become ordained priests or ministers, and in almost all denominations, the ranks of the ministering persons include members of both sexes. What's that? Do we still have a vocational center here? Do they still call it vocational or something else? Yeah, that's true. I remember that. Yes. Yeah, I do remember that. This brings up the difficulty of what pronouns to use when a reference is made to members of the ministering professions. If he is used, that leaves out the woman, but if he and she is used, that is awkward. So I am going to use he sometimes and she sometimes, both in a generic way to refer to ministering persons as a class. The word burnout is not new. It is listed in Webster's New International Dictionary, which gives us 3 specific examples of its use. First, the word can refer to the burning out of the interior or contents of something, such as a building. Second, it can be used in the field of electricity to refer to the breakdown of a circuit owing to combustion caused by high temperatures. In this case, the conductor has been burned out by the high temperature produced by the electric current. Third, it can be used in forestry to refer to a forest fire that has been so severe that the vital humus on the forest floor has been destroyed, leaving the forest denuded. Of interest is the fact that the dictionary does not use the word with reference to human beings. To use the word burnout to refer to human beings' condition is a new usage of the word, and we may surmise that since the word is now used in this way, it refers to a recent social and psychological phenomenon. Not that people have not burned out at what they were doing at other times of history. That must surely have been the case. But evidently the problem is now becoming so widespread that a special word is used for the condition, a necessity that did not exist before. It is interesting to notice how human afflictions change. At the turn of this century, for instance, the major cause of death was infectious disease, and among the most prevalent psychological afflictions was hysteria, a condition in which there is some marked physical impairment, such as the inability to lift an arm with no physical cause. Today, infectious disease as a cause of death, in industrial nations at least, has been replaced by heart disease, osteosclerosis, and cancer, while in the psychological realm, one hardly ever encounters a case of hysteria. Instead, we hear conditions such as burnout, and this reflects the changing conditions of human life. Are you shell-shocked? PTSD, yes. If we apply the dictionary definition of burnout to human beings, we must imagine a man or woman who has been devoured from within by fiery energy until, like a gutted house, nothing is left. Or we may imagine a person who once carried a current of psychic energy, but now, like a burned out electrical conductor, cannot supply power anymore. Or an individual who, like a burned out forest, feels that her power to renew herself has been destroyed. Our task will be to see what it is about. Our task will be to see what it is about. Our task will be to see what it is about the work of the ministering person that makes him prone to burning out, and to see if there are practical and spiritual solutions available to the person who feels he is burning out. The first part of this task will be undertaken in Chapter 1. The next 9 chapters will look for possible solutions. The final chapter will be broader in scope. The word burnout is drawn from the imagery of fire, and fire is a form and symbol for energy. So, in its broadest scope, the problem of burnout is a problem of energy. As both Freud and Jung have shown, each individual has a certain quantity of libido or psychic energy at her disposal, and it is this energy that enlivens consciousness and makes effective living possible. This energy can be used up, but more psychic energy can also be generated. Therefore, the final chapter will look more closely at how the ego can become exhausted when it has expended its quantity of psychic energy, and will examine some of the possible ways of renewing that psychic energy so that life can once again be effectively lived. Chapter 1, Ministry Burnout, a Special Problem. As we have already noted, many kinds of work can lead to burnout, but the ministering person faces certain special circumstances. In this chapter, I will identify 9 special difficulties the ministering person faces in his work. The job of the ministering person is never finished. People in many jobs and professions can feel that they have taken on the task and completed it. The carpenter, for instance, finishes the table he is making. The engineer can stand back and admire the bridge he has built. The surgeon may have satisfaction of seeing his patient recover. The lawyer will eventually wind up the case with which he has been wrestling. Not so the ministering person. His work is never finished, for he faces a continuous onslaught of services, weddings, funerals, crises, parishes, conflicts, holy day celebrations, sick persons to see, shut-ins to visit, classes to teach, and administrative tasks. Even the dreaded every member canvass seems to conclude just about in time to begin cranking up the machinery to put in motion for the next year. Seldom can the ministering person stand back and say, "There, now that job is finished." The ministering person is like Sisyphus in Greek mythology, whose fate it was to have to push a great stone up a mountain only to have it roll down again just before reaching the top. This feeling that a job is endless, that you never quite reach the top of the mountain, no matter how hard you try, can lead to exhaustion. The ministering person cannot always tell if his work is having any results. It can be frustrating never to have the satisfaction of seeing a work completed. It can be even more frustrating not to be sure that one's efforts are having any results at all. A house painter can stand back from his work now and then to look at what he has accomplished. But the ministering person can work for months or years and not be sure she is really accomplishing anything. This is because her work is primarily devoted to the pastoral care and spiritual nourishment of people. Are her people being helped by her ministry? On good days she may think they are, but on bad days she may be overwhelmed by a feeling that she is accomplishing nothing, and there will be nothing tangible she can point to for reassurance. Of course there are exceptions, and one is the building program. One can stand back and admire the new building and take satisfaction in the completion of such a project, though it will not be paid for yet, of course. This may be one reason why building projects are so popular among the clergy and among lay people too. It is a fact that money can be raised more readily for buildings than for programs. But as far as the major thrust of her work is concerned, the ministering person can seldom be sure of results, and may often be preyed upon by doubts that she is accomplishing anything of lasting value. The work of the ministering person is repetitive. Not only is the work never finished, it continually repeats itself. Christmas comes over and over. The services must be repeated, the Christmas service prepared, and the Christmas letter sent out to the congregation with one more attempt to present the Christmas message in an original way that will, at the same time, induce people to make extra generous Christmas offerings. The confirmation class comes over and over, and the church school program must be cranked up again each fall. One sick person recovers or dies, only to be replaced immediately by another. And so it goes in what can seem like an endlessly repetitive cycle. What'd you have, cereal?
Watermelons.
Ooh, yummy.
I'll get another one.
The ministering person is dealing constantly with people's expectations. Perhaps in no other profession, except maybe that of the politician, is a person facing so many expectations from so many people. And to make the situation more complicated, the expectations people place upon the ministering person vary enormously. The situation can be particularly difficult for the clergy. Some people expect their priest or minister to be a great teacher, Others want him foremost to be a faithful pastor. Others hand him the task of being a financial wizard. Some want him to maintain the old traditions, but just as many want him to be pleasingly avant-garde, yet not threaten them so much. Some expect him to devote himself to calling on the sick, or making parish calls, or attending community social functions, or being concerned with the poor or civil rights. While others want him for a personal counselor, or want him to be a famous preacher, and on the list goes, and clearly no one person can be so gifted, so energetic, and so varied in his interests that he can hope to fulfill all these expectations. Furthermore, these people with their expectations are persons who must be reckoned with. They are the ones who pay the bills. They are the ones whose favor must be won if his work is to be successful, or sometimes if he is even to keep his job. They can make or break the success of his program, and they can make his life agreeable or disagreeable. You agree with that? Yes, we agree with that too. And that is one of the facts in life that we very much understand about human beings that impedes some of the worst crimes from being exposed, because they are the ones who pay the bills. They are the ones whose favor must be won if work is to be successful, and if you're even to keep your job, right? Yeah, we understand that. So muchas gracias to you all. Thank you for your service to humanity. Okay, so we do what we do. My name's Mary. We're at the Governor Hill Mansion in Augusta, Maine. It's a beautiful building. Beautiful city. Yeah, we got the old Fort Western here. We're on the river, right on the Kennebec River. Yeah, anyone who works in or around the building, it'd be nice if you can acknowledge the facts and concerns about that sick punk next door with my children who can't talk and tell you the abuse they're going through. Yeah, that'd be nice. I know you're very caught up and concerned, and you all have very busy lives, and you work very hard, and people such as myself, losers, on disability, yeah, just we're such fucking leeches, and what we've put our parents through, it's just horrible. Yeah, so shame on us, shame on us. So we do what we do, okay? So regardless of how much we can personally judge each other and say who's better or worse, or who's done more or less, who works harder, who's a nicer person, who gives more to charity, who's opened more doors for people. Bunch of fucking retards. Yeah, so when you're all done with that, maybe we can acknowledge the children being fucked and tortured. Right, the animal and child pornography. Yeah, the activist groups, how all that works, the mechanisms, because a lot of people around the world understand it, and they're fucking disgusted with you. Probably more so than I am, if you can believe that. Yeah, well, see, I have a little bit of bias, because I grew up with a lot of you. Some are family. Well, not anymore, right? Right. No, it's probably best if we disown each other, because I definitely am not like you. And I would never want to be like you. Hey, Mikey, they like it. Bunch of sick fucking pigs. Yeah, hopefully. So we're here if anybody wants to actually address those facts and concerns. You'd think that'd be the first thing you'd want to do. I mean, if it were your children or someone you knew and loved. Right, I mean, you seem to justify, right, by wanting to protect people. You're protecting the elderly and the children from us dangerous people. So now that you realize how fucking stupid you are, and you've played right into the hands of the sick fucking punks, right, maybe you can wake the fuck up and actually acknowledge the facts and concerns and do what's right for those kids. Nothing to do with me. It's nothing personal. You can all lick each other's assholes to hell and back. Or just keep licking them in the hell that you're in, you fucking nasty pigs. I know, right? dancing like angels in hell. I know, right? Anyways, much love, health, and peace, all. Take care of yourselves and each other.